This passion project is supported in 2 different ways. Number 1, through a partnership with Red H Nutrition. If you'll stick around to the end of the episode, you'll hear me interview the owner of Red H Nutrition about one of my favorite products. You can also use code RUNLIFTMOM for 10% at checkout off any Red H Nutrition product. Number 2, it is through my efforts as a Zaya Active independent representative. If you guys want to join my new release text on Wednesdays, I want to keep you running, lifting, and momming instead of stuck to your device screen. You can just go to newreleasewednesday.com. You'll be added, and then I'll send you a text with my new release pick of the week on Wednesdays, and then also a health tip that you can use that day. That's newreleasewednesday.com. Thank you for listening. Welcome to the Run Lift Mom podcast, where we're talking about running, lifting, and momming, not necessarily in that order. I am so excited to have Jen Gerasimas today from 7 Core Wellness. She is the founder of the Warrior Approach and a preventative health specialist. You guys, this is a former clinician. She was a nurse who had a fire in her belly to help people prevent disease, and now she works as both a corrective exercise specialist, personal trainer, and wellness coach. In this episode, we are talking about tactical changes. Listening audience, I know you know what to do. I know you know what to do. How to do it can be kind of challenging. And so that's where Jen and I focused. Without further ado, Jen Gerasimas. All right. Welcome, Jen, to the Run Lift Mom podcast. I am thrilled to have you here to talk about healthy behavior change. But first, I have to know how you personally were brought into the health and wellness space.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Susie. I'm excited to be here. So my background is, as you mentioned, is I was a nurse. So my bachelor's in nursing. And when I was working as a nurse, I wanted to help people stay out of the hospital. And I didn't know how I just knew that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on the wellness side, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do in regards to that. So continue working as a nurse, and then fast forward to when I have my daughter. So I have my daughter, and I had the good fortune of taking a break from working. My husband was in the military, and with all of his deployments and all this, that I got to stay home with her. And still thinking of this, okay, I don't really want to go back and work as a nurse. I want to help people with the wellness side. I had started, been a long time runner, and got plantar fasciitis a little bit and so I was like, I can't run like I used to. Like, I can't do that, and I got to do more. So I actually joined a gym, and I began to realize, cross training, how important it is. I got back to running, and it didn't hurt, but it was because I was doing other things. I was doing strength training. I was doing cycling classes. I was actually running faster. And I was like, there's something to that. So I got into teaching group exercise classes, and I loved the relationships I was starting to develop with people. It just was like this click of like, this is like my world that I want to be in, and people coming to me for health and fitness advice. And so then it sort of shifted, personal training needs to be the next step that I need to take. So got certified as a personal trainer, and worked into that for several years, and then got certified as a nutrition coach, because you can't just do exercise. Like, it's the whole wellness package when you're talking about your health, and nutrition is the biggest component, actually, I feel, of it, of a healthy lifestyle. And so then, that just spurred on to, now working with people, not only for fitness related, but also with nutrition and wellness.
Wow, it's fascinating to me. So you have this clinical knowledge, but this real passion to help people before they get to you in the hospital. And I love how, some fitness professionals will just stay in that fitness box, but I love how you're taking that holistic approach to wellness and to keeping people out of the hospital.
Yes.
And so I just, in prevention, I love that you're really completing that circle there.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So a lot of our listeners struggle with behavior change. It's like
Yeah.
we know what to do. This is definitely a smart crew listening right now, but sometimes we struggle with how to do it. So I want to ask first, like, what do you recommend if somebody's got an unhealthy habit? They're eating at night. I don't think anybody's smoking cigarettes. I don't know. Maybe they are. What do you recommend for, eliminating unhealthy habits?
Well, as you say, it is such a struggle, and actually is part of with working with people. It's like, how can we make this not such a struggle? I wanted to figure out how can we make this easy. Like you said, we know what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
How can we make that change really happen? And how I find is the kind of the approach to it, where I'm a huge in writing stuff down. Okay. And I find that this is sort of a process of going through three non-negotiables that kind of help lead you out of it. So the first one is seeing where your mindset is. So is your mindset in the right spot? Are you already claiming victory instead of being a victim? Like if for example, like I am, I'm trying to be healthy versus I am a healthy person, and already claiming that. If you are someone that's already smoking, it's like, okay, I'm trying to quit smoking. I'm no longer a smoker, and already have that mindset, as well as some other shifts that might need to happen. So writing that kind of stuff down. If you're struggling with that habit of like, maybe you have, again, some mind shift issues, some thoughts that you need to think of to kind of overcome, as well as your why. Why are you really wanting to make this change? So it's very fresh. And also something, when you're writing down your why, again, it's something like putting it somewhere where you can maybe see it. And so that's the first one. The second one is coming up with a plan to overcome it. Okay. And so you've got this habit, you need to stop snacking at nighttime, for example. And so that's, that's the habit that you want to change. And it's good that you focus on like one particular habit versus a whole bunch of stuff. That's an encouragement I give people. Big overhauls usually don't work. So you want to work on what habits do I need to change? And so think of things at 1 week at a time. Think of things
It sounds like this might work too if we're trying to adopt a new habit. So like
yes.
finding that why and claiming victory and then coming up with a plan. So this, I want to clarify for listeners, like this strategy could work whether we're trying to kick something bad or adopt something positive.
Yes. It does. It works for both. So when you're thinking of it's because some people get overwhelmed with the amount of changes they have to make. So if we can just take more broadly speaking of like, okay, yeah, I've got habits I know I need to remove, but habits I need to put in. The system in order to do that is like, okay, I can get overwhelmed by the changes that I'm thinking I need to make. So actually writing all of that down can be kind of like, okay, all right, I've written all that down, the changes I need to make. Now I'm going to pick 1 to 2 that I want to focus on. And so taking the one like, okay, I know I need to stop snacking and eating at nighttime, okay, that's my one I'm going to focus on for like 4 weeks. Because also the thing about it is like, okay, people want to make things sustainable. So how can we make this sustainable? And part of that again is the focus on something for a longer amount of time. And so you pick that habit, 1 to 2 habits, I don't want to snack late at night. And now you're going to focus on, okay, 1 week at a time. What's going to keep me from doing that? What are challenges that I have that's going to keep me from my habit? Okay. If it's like, I know that I've got snacky food in the house, I tend to go for the ice cream. Like what's going to prevent you? And then try to tackle that just 1 week at a time of being successful. Of being like, okay, now you can come up with a plan of like, okay, I need to remove this stuff out of my house, or I have an alarm, I have a cutoff time, I can't have anything to eat past this time, and so you're coming up with this plan. And then, so I talked about, okay, there's like the mindset part of it, there's the non-negotiable, the plan, coming up with the plan, the right plan, and the next is accountability. So what's going to keep you accountable so you don't fall off the wagon? And so what's, because it could be as simple, and I encourage a lot for him, is that you actually mark on a calendar your days of success, right? You see this chain that you're like, okay, I did it a couple of days in a row. You're giving
So
yourself
you're talking
stars.
like red X's, like, okay. So first of all, I'm not a night snacker.
Yes, yeah, right.
So finding
Yeah.
your why, maybe your why is like, I want health and longevity for my kids. And then
Yes.
I love how you're saying to get really like to think about those barriers. So
Yes.
you're saying like, okay, if I'm bored after X p.m. to
Yes.
maybe set that, okay, after 7:00, it's no more eating.
Right.
And then when I have a night where I don't eat after 7:00, like put a big red X on the calendar.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's there's a power of writing stuff down. So if you sort of come up, because a lot of times we'll kind of think, oh, you know what, I think I'm going to work on trying to have vegetables with every meal or eat more veggies. You sort of think about, okay, I'm going to try to do this, versus when you actually write down and come up with a plan, and it doesn't take very long to do that. That's more like, okay, I've got something behind me. And then the accountability with having, you can start seeing your days mark up. Well, oh, I got to start here. I got to start here. I got to start here for your days. And then you're like, I don't want to break that chain. Right.
Right.
So it's a way of seeing your progress in a visual way too, because we can miss progress when we don't have something like, especially if someone is trying to they're losing weight and it's not coming off in a manner, but they know these healthy habits they want for a long time. Like, okay, what could you create that could be something that you could see visually of your progress? And so that's why, like, what I call an accountability calendar, where you sort of mark your days of success, is a great way to do that. And there's other forms of accountability you can get. You can use apps, technological ones. You can
I
use
was
apps.
just thinking about my Apple Watch, like how much satisfaction there is when I've closed my stupid rings.
Yes, yes, I know.
There really is.
I know. And then when I forget to start my watch for a workout, and I'm like, oh, I did. It's like, oh,
it doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't count. Like those little things.
I don't want to skip over to your point about taking a pen out and putting it on paper.
Yes.
It turns an arbitrary goal to an exercise where you're really thinking through how to do it and why you're doing it. To say I'm going to eat more vegetables, and then to kind of meal plan and say, I'm going to incorporate cauliflower rice here and Brussels sprouts here and beets here. It's two different things.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, the taking a small time just to plan and prep, it's setting yourself up for success.
What do they say? You don't plan to fail; you fail to plan.
Fail to plan. Yes, exactly, absolutely. Coming up with a plan is going to be super key, and identifying. You can't overcome your challenges until you identify what the challenges you are. You can't overcome them until you've identified what is really keeping me from having this habit. What's getting in my way from making this change. Then you can properly plan. You can't properly plan if you don't think about what's keeping you, what could get in your way.
So let's say there's somebody out there listening and they're like, man, they're being incredibly specific with this like late night eating or vegetables. Like they don't even have necessarily a goal that they're going to work on yet. What recommendations, like what are some, if somebody is just in terms of overall health, what is the area of focus that you recommend as a health professional?
First is thinking about having a whole real food nutrition diet in your eating. Whole real foods. And that can even still overwhelming, but I'll break that down, because to me, it doesn't matter if someone wants to be a vegan or keto or not follow anything. It's all about having whole real food. Food is medicine. It's the best way to fuel our bodies, the best way to give it all its minerals and vitamins that it needs. And so if you're looking at your nutrition and you're finding that you're having all this other processed food and stuff in your diet, trying to figure out, you want to get rid of that and replace it with whole real food. And again, that can seem overwhelming, and that's when you want to pick like one thing to sort of focus on, one or two things to sort of focus on, instead of like changing it all at one time. So you can sort of easier implement it into your lifestyle. So that's with the nutrition part of it. Yeah.
what we usually tell our kids, and I find that this is good advice for adults too, you tell me, if it came from the ground or had a mama. We tell the kids if it came from the ground or had a mama, it will make you big and strong. And I find that that's good nutrition advice for adults as well, in line with that eat real foods.
Yeah, and I think it's going back to simplifying it. That's why people get bombarded with all this other information of like, I need to have this, this, and this. When we get back to the basics of it, it's like, first, you just need to have a foundation of a diet that's, of eating whole root foods mostly. Now, that's not to say we don't enjoy other treats, but, that's majority of what we're eating, I could go rabbit trail down on why the reasons for all of that. But anyway, that's the big thing. I just want to simplify with people of like, let's not make it too complicated. Should I have a banana over blueberry? Let's just that's too far down the road. We just need to get the real food in and get the non-real fake food out. With one client too, who would have with, that's why kind of writing down what you actually eat too. But she would find like later in the week, she would eat a whole lot more than she would in the beginning of the week. And so we're trying to figure out why that was. And why it was is because maybe she wouldn't eat so well over the weekend. And so then she would kind of punish herself by not eating as much, maybe Monday and Tuesday, but then she's starving by Wednesday and Thursday. And then she would overeat then, and then it goes back into this cycle of, okay, I've overate and now I'm going to try to be better. And then that kind of thing, versus you just need to try to round out your eating all the way through. That's what she needs to do. She realized, actually, I need to eat, if I eat more, and realize I'm not about not punishing herself. Right.
Right. So what I hear you saying is by writing that down, she was able to identify that pattern that, again, it's behavioral.
Yes. And so again, you can't pinpoint. It's again, I will keep writing something down. How much that just can open your eyes to because a lot of people think, oh, I eat pretty good, and then once they write it down, like a lot of times what I work, and here's one thing that I work with clients. I usually ask them for 3 days of what they eat. Okay. When I'm first starting to work with someone, and one day has to cover a weekend. And so they sort of need to write down quantity, times a day, what they have. It's not really sustainable every day for you to be writing down. I mean, that's tedious. That's extra time, that kind of stuff. But then I would take a highlighter with them. So you could take different color highlighters and like, okay, we're going to highlight your proteins this color. We're going to highlight your fats. We're going to highlight your veggies. And then they look at it and go, whoa, I don't have any, if you do veggies or green, I'm like, I don't have hardly any greens, and then you start identifying where your needs need to be.
I love this. It goes back. Yeah. I mean, again, a lot of people know what to do.
Yes.
They don't know how to do it. And so I love you guys. Jen is recommending you take about 3 days of intake, make sure that it covers a weekend, and then get your highlighter out and really dissect what you've written down. I'm curious, Jen, when you have clients do this, do they on average undercut the amounts that they're eating, or do you find, do you ask folks to do portions, i.e., a cup of cooked vegetables or whatever?
Yeah, I think I haven't found that to be too much, because I talk about that when I'm like, okay, be real and honest, because I can only help you the most if
find a good health coach, folks. They will talk you through this before you can get into that mess.
Yeah, and so you can only with being honest. So they're kind of shamefully handing it to me, but it can, like I say, it is sort of an eye opener, and it's a great talking point. Mm-hmm. And also when I'm working with someone, that helps them realize what habits they need to switch. And usually for them, if they take ownership, they're like, yeah, this is where I need to work on the most or something, that's where we start. Because when they're kind of picking, when you sort of look at your thing and go, oh, versus, someone else telling you do this, this or that or another. But if if you look at your sheet and go, wow, I have hardly any vegetables during the day. Or, I even do a different highlighter color for processed stuff. And wow, look at how much of mine compares to having real food. And then it's like, okay, this is where I know I need to make, my change. It kind of leads you to where your habits, because if you're even I don't even know what habits to start with, again, that can help sort of lead you to that.
I love that. I love it. So this is going to be a more general question because we know that each of us are maybe struggling with or, great at different things. But if we were going to spend our time on three habits, right? And I heard you loud and clear when you said, hey, only change one thing at a time. But
Right.
let's say that we're going to take the next 6 months to really lock in 3 healthy habits. Where do you think our time is best spent generally?
Okay. So I'm going to go back to the one where I referred to with I'm going to break it up for like nutrition for three different areas. Okay.
Okay.
For your nutrition, it's really like, okay, you want to focus on getting the the fake food, bad food. People have feelings on whether you call bad food and good food, but in any case, as those, that artificial, that processed food, sugary food out of your diet and getting the real stuff in.
Great.
And then the other one is with movement. Okay, is moving more. Most people know they need to move more, but they struggle to get the time in for that. And so it's doing something that you love, scheduling it in, even if it's short. It's more about the consistency, right? Continuing to show up than it is for, like, say, the time length. It's the quality of it versus the quantity of it. And as far as like, if you only got 10 minutes of trying to, like, I hardly have any time in, like, we're busy, I'm a mom, like, I've got this and this and this going on. I know I need to move more. Well, of trying to just focus, if it's only 10 minutes a couple days a week, great. Start from there and build on it. And again, it's the consistency. Have yourself a calendar where you can check, so you can show week after week, you see, oh, wait, I did much better this month than I did before. So
our moms that are low on time really need to hear that. I don't mean to interrupt you. I want you to keep going, but I want them to hear you say consistency, more than nothing. 10 minutes of something is more than nothing, and it adds up. And I love how you're saying, write it down so you can celebrate it at the end of all that consistency. There's that visual writing stuff down again.
Yeah, because a lot of times we want perfection over progress. And that's a mind shift change also, where you're realizing, okay, also especially depending on the season of life that you're in, if you've got younger kids versus older kids, and you got to realize, okay, this is what I can do at this season, and it's going to change. But I know that I need to try to at least get the consistency of movement in. And it may be small, and it might not be very much, and it may not be ideally what I want, but it will make you feel better knowing that you have taken that time, even if it's something, 10 minutes with being active with your kids that you originally wouldn't have done, of like, okay, I'm just trying to, again, build consistency. So I build that habit.
I love it.
I can build on it. So start small, then you can go big.
So I hear you say not only does consistency add up, but it's about establishing the habit. Consistency will establish the habit, which sets you up.
Yes. Yeah.
Love it.
And then the third one real quickly I'll share is, I would say, as far as like a self-care practice, I mean, you can call nutrition and working out part of self-care, but for self-care, as far as I think especially relating to moms, is maybe sleep. And a better maybe practice at nighttime before going to bed, to get better quality sleep, of giving yourself like a cutoff time that you're like, okay, I'm going to be in bed, maybe reading a real book, not be on social media or something like that, or that can, because that some little one's going to be getting you up early in the morning. So if you're struggling, you're extra tired during the day, and okay, I know too many moms that, like, their evening times, that finally you do get some downtime to yourself, and I can appreciate that greatly. But also then maybe set yourself a time, like, okay, I know I need to have away from electronics or something like that, and maybe I'm reading a real book to help myself relax or that kind of thing. So and there's more I could go in about sleep, but those would be sort of like 3 areas that I would say to kind of start with your focus on. Lay a good foundation, and then you can build on it.
And I'll link in the show notes of this episode. So depending on where somebody's listening, they can either click details or swipe up. But I'm going to link an episode with Annie Henderson where she talks about sleep hygiene, as well as it's for your little ones, but she goes into a great deal about sleep hygiene at the end of that. And I love that it's consistent with what you're saying as well.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, I'm going to give you a this or that to wrap us up.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with behavior change or prevention, establishing habits, but wow, Jen, it's been really amazing tactical information. I love episodes where people can listen to it and then do something with it. And you guys are hearing Jen say, when you have found that why, when you have set your mind, right? Position that mindset correctly to write things down. There is power in that practice. That way you can do some problem solving. Love it. All right. This or that. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Leopard print or stripes?
Oh, leopard print.
Awesome. Wild. How about Kindle or a physical book?
Oh, physical book.
I love it, and especially before bed, right?
Yes.
All right. Tell me about either your first date or an anniversary date.
Okay. My husband and I are high school sweethearts. So we've been together a very long time. We'll be celebrating 17 years of marriage this year, although we've been together, for, 23 years. And so our first date, he took me in his 88 Camaro to Olive Garden. He had a rose sitting in the seat, and that was so sweet. He had a rose sitting in the seat, and we went to Olive Garden, and I remember him, whatever he got, how they give you like a spoon to go with the pasta to like twirl it. And he was like, obviously not very versed in that. And he was like, why would they give you a spoon to put with the pasta? Like these silly people. And I'm like, well, you do it because you twirl it. Oh,
I need a fork with my pasta. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my first date with him, and that was my last first date. So
have you done unlimited? You get the salad, the unlimited breads.
Right.
Do you guys? Do you ever? I know Olive Garden isn't like the healthiest of food, but we can do treats every so often. Do you guys ever go back to Olive Garden and be like, "This is where it began"?
Yeah. Oh gosh, no. It's been years.
You should.
Maybe we should, but it's hard because there's so much. My eating has completely changed since then. I've had a huge shift in it. So the desire to even go there, to be honest, doesn't sound great. For nostalgia's sakes, maybe when we're back in Alabama where to the one we first went to, maybe that would be the case. But
there you go.
Anyway.
I have had so much fun recording this episode, Jen. It's really cool to speak with a clinician, right, with that clinical background that just has the passion and the desire to help people from a preventative place. And I love that you're doing that. We're going to put all of your details in the show notes. So listeners, I want you to click details or swipe up depending on the player you're in so you can connect with Jen and learn all about the Warrior Approach and her program.
Yes. Thank you so much, Susie, for having me. This has been fun.
Likewise.
Thank you so much, Jen, for coming to the Run Lift Mom podcast. You guys, I really enjoyed this episode because Jen offered us a lot of tactical advice. Where is your mindset? Are you claiming victory? What is your plan? Do you have an accountability method? She offered a ton of great suggestions, and I would love to hear which ones you're using. So make sure that you let me know by using hashtag RunLiftMomPod, RunLiftMompod, short for Run Lift Mom Podcast, in the socials. I would love to share that with Jen as well. And if you'll either swipe up or click details in the show notes, you're going to see all of the great links so you can reach out to her at 7 Core Wellness and learn about the Warrior Approach. Thank you so much, Jen. And until I get into your earpiece again, remember, for while bodily training is of some value, godliness is of value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. That's from 1 Timothy 4:8, and this has been the Run Lift Mom podcast.
All right, I've got Katie Danger with Red H Nutrition. Katie, we know that good health starts in the gut. Can you tell me a little bit about adaptogenic symbiotic?
Yeah, I'm going to reiterate your point, Susie. Health starts in the gut, and that's why the adaptogenic symbiotic is so important. It's complete digestion support. we've got the 3 most abundant gut flora for the probiotics. So we've got 6 billion CFUs, colony-forming units. We have a prebiotic fiber, which helps feed those probiotics so they can do the job they need to do. And then we also have invertase included, which helps with any bloating and gas and indigestion you may be experiencing. So we've got this proactive approach and we've got the reactive approach. So if anybody's experiencing any gas, bloating, or just wants additional digestive support, the adaptogenic probiotic is the all-in-one solution for that.
Hey, Run Lift Mom listeners, you know I'm the mom of 4 kids under age 5, and therefore I am always looking for ways to work smart, not hard. Anchor is the smartest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you why. First of all, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, but Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so then it can be heard on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a whole lot more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It is quite literally everything you need all in one place. And y'all, it's free. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you for listening to the Run Lift Mom podcast. This show began as a passion project in February 2019 as a way to uplift other women in the areas of running, lifting, and motherhood. I have been blessed by this project, over 30,000 listens, and I have great relationships with the guests who have come on this show, as well as you, dear listener. Listeners, if you can rate, review, and subscribe, that really helps other folks find the show. Also keeps my show sponsors happy. Thank you for being a part of the Run Lift Mom podcast.